The following podcast is an enticing media production. Thank you for listening to this podcast. You are now socially obligated to pour yourself a drink, and welcome to The Drunk Squirrel.
That we hit the record button and stop all this nonsense about talking without the microphones on.
We've been talking for an hour already. We're 2 drinks in and just starting.
Stupid rug over here. It's like rolling up under my chair.
Hey.
How you doing? Anyway, cheers, Rob.
Hey, cheers, Kenny.
We always forget this, so let's start off right off the bat. What are we drinking, and why are we drinking it?
Okay, so because we re-released the first episode last week, or 2 weeks ago. Wow.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
We'll talk on the whole time thing, because it's weird right now.
Yeah, it sure is.
We are drinking Dark and Stormies, which is the first drink we had with the Drunk Squirrel.
Yeah, and I had never even heard of a Dark and Stormy.
You got to go to Bermuda.
At the point where we drank them the first time.
You guys are travelers. You have got to go to Bermuda.
Yeah, I would like to.
It was one of the few points where I'll call it a positive memory from flying. And that's a marginal positive on that.
I know how you are with that. So.
Oh, no, you've never seen me on a plane.
Well, no,
you
but
will
I've
never
heard...
fly with me again.
That's probably true.
Be like, I do not know that stress ball. Please just remove it from the plane.
But I feel like I need to see it at least once, like in person.
Maybe one of these years we'll figure out a Drunk Squirrel on the road.
Okay.
That would be wild. Oh, man.
That'll work.
All right, but we were flying in. I was 18 in high school. We were flying into Bermuda, and my dad's like, all right, you got to see this. You got to see this. Watch out the window. And the whole descent down, you're just watching. Ocean, 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 ocean. You're like 10 feet off the ground. You're like, what the and then it's suddenly runway. So it was a neat descent. Fine. Great. There was a lot less screaming on that flight. But, Bermuda is beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's an island, so.
Yeah, it's hard not to be.
It's hard not to be beautiful. Yeah. And for the record, St. Thomas is a little bit like that. A lot of islands are like that. St. Martin, where you fly in over Airplane Beach there, it's like, water, road, runway.
So, didn't fly in there, but Mel and I took a cruise for our honeymoon down to Cozumel, and that was a beautiful, I think it's an island. I'm doubting myself now, but I think it is.
Now, Cozumel, I think it's just off the coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to take if you're going to Cozumel and you fly, and you're flying there, you're not like on a cruise or something, I believe you have to take a little like puddle jumper boat or a puddle jumper plane or a boat.
Yeah, it is an island.
Yeah. So.
And there were some beautiful beaches down there, and I was not allowed to buy a Cuban cigar.
No?
No.
Because your wife told you couldn't, or?
My new wife was very afraid that she was going to be trying to figure out how to get me out of cruise jail.
I think you'd have been fine.
I thought so, too.
I think you'd have been fine.
There were other priorities on that trip.
Yeah, wow.
Happy wife.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
You had plans.
Other priorities.
You had plans. I don't blame you. I do not blame you.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yes, Dark and Stormies, because it was the first drink that you and I started the Drunk Squirrel with. And, I mean, we have homework for this episode.
We do have homework, and this is something that
Producer Nell
came up with during the day, mainly because she realizes that our lack of preparation is epic. And she knew that we had an idea here that we spoke of that we didn't actually have anything prepared to actually execute that idea.
I mean, shoot, this will be the third self-reflection I've done in a week, so
man.
I got ideas.
I'm not. How did that go?
Well, I had my review, and then I had there's paperwork that I filled out for work to kind of change some things.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that as it progresses, as it gets clarity.
Yeah.
And now this.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess this
is
less of a self-reflection as it is.
See, I think it's because it'll be just you and I There's alcohol involved. And the level of conversation and relationship we have.
We're a drink and a half in already, and
you're a little bit further in that second drink than I am. By a hair.
Oh, well.
By a hair.
Yeah.
Now, you also have ice in yours.
But you finished your first one before I was done.
Yeah.
So this is, it's kind of evened out at this point. So,
But yeah, because it's just you and I and that whole relationship bit, I think you and I will go deeper than,
yeah.
you know, the review is, well, you've had job reviews.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I've
No.
never actually had a job review.
Oh, shoot.
I've been a part of a few, like for other people, but I've never really had a job review. I'm usually pretty good at my job.
This is, so I'm in, I think, like my 10th review with St. Andrews.
Okay. I mean, I get it. They want to keep it like on the up and up, right?
Yeah, and I mean, they're always positive. They're always good. I've
Yeah.
had ones that are, you know, every year they're negative. You know,
They're
here's where you're falling short.
They're just beating you up. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not what St. Andrews has ever been. It's always been, okay, you know, where are you at? What were the wins? What were the losses? How can we, and this is the way Robin phrases it every
Yeah.
time, you know, how can we grow out of these things?
Yeah.
So they're good, but I mean, there's always that level of guard.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't feel that with you in this moment, Kenny.
All right. You shouldn't.
Let us open the kimonos.
you should feel just fine. So this is gonna. I think this will be fun.
I think so too.
I'm looking at the questions, and I don't really know how I'm going to answer some of them, but you know.
See, and this is also part of where it's also fun because it's okay. Like there are elements of you that I've seen in the past year and a half.
Yeah, I guess it is
Doing this.
almost a year and a half.
Yeah, I'll speak to and point out that I've seen in growth in you that I think is really cool. I think that's part of what will happen.
Okay,
So,
good.
Yeah. I don't know. You want to lob the first question? Let's see what happens.
Yeah. So this is a little more general and much less self-reflecting, as maybe some of the other questions. But the very first question she has here is, she wanted to know what we have learned about podcasting since the first episode. So that's not very self-reflecting, but it's a good question nonetheless.
Yeah, but it's starting to mark the growth pattern of what have we gained out of this. Mm-hmm. You know, are there elements we're walking away with that are positives or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've learned. Okay, I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Because I had an idea immediately as when she kind of let me preview the questions a little bit. I had an idea immediately was if your if somebody out there is podcasting, if you're podcasting or you're looking to podcast, consider what you're saying and how you're speaking while you're recording, because it makes the editing easier. That's what I learned about podcasting.
What was it? The first 6 months we kept, you kept, because you've done all the edits.
No, but I mean, it was the filler words and stuff that, and you can't, you can't take all those out because it sounds unnatural anyway.
Right.
But if you just do a better job of speaking when you're actually doing the recording, it's so much easier on the back end.
Well, and I think that's even a point of being more relaxed in being able to speak and not having a higher expectation of your ability to be, the great orator. No, we're Kenny and Rob sitting in the back bedroom of your house.
Correct.
And, it's getting hot in here.
Yeah. So take off all your clothes. No, please don't.
Sorry, I had to see if you were going to go there.
But, I mean, you learn that this podcasting thing that we're doing and the podcasting thing that I feel like most people that are podcasting are doing is this is not like, it's not perfection.
Right.
It's not perfection. And I feel like that's what relates to people that are listening.
You know what I think has actually helped you a lot with that, especially in the relaxing and being in the moment, is the flubs you have in radio.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is no way you can pull those back. It's live radio. And I think, you've been doing radio for about 1.5 years now, too?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's a little more than 1.5 years, so...
Yeah, and again, those flubs beginning and who you guys are now, it's night and day.
Well, the flubs are actually encouraged, to be perfectly honest with you. It's one of the things that I was very surprised by when we started this whole thing. Debs was like, people listening love to hear you screw up.
Well, it humanizes you.
Yeah, it's like, and it's also like, well, this is a live show, because if it wasn't, I'd have edited that out. So, yeah, I feel like that's what the biggest thing is for me. It's pay attention to what you're doing while you're recording. It's never going to be perfect, but you can do, if you're doing your own editing, you can do yourself a favor by just being recording better.
Yeah, and be okay with the human elements that sneak in.
Yes,
because they're needed.
Mm-hmm.
Those weird little gaps.
Yes,
or just the that occasionally, not all the time.
Yeah.
So
I used to try to, when I first started like editing and stuff, I used to try to pull all that stuff out, and it's impossible, and you just drive yourself
insane.
Batty. You drive yourself batty if you're going to try to do that.
Well, and I remember trying to do that with the 42. I mean, we tried to make sure everything's stitched together perfectly, and there were no big gaps or or weird mouth noises. And
it's never going to be. Yeah, you can't. And then the more people you have recording, when you have a guest, they're not seasoned in that. They're not used to, in most cases, they're not used to being behind a microphone. So
no, and we've had some amazing guests. I don't think we've had anyone who's like totally stuttered and just broke down.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we've never had a guest where we're like, yeah, we can't release that episode.
No, we have released every episode we recorded.
Yeah, I guess we have.
We do not have an episode.
We didn't have like a stutter episode at the beginning. We had that weird mess of a trailer.
Yeah.
That Nell made look sound amazing.
Yeah, somehow she like moved it all around, and it's like, wow, that actually sounded like we knew what we were doing, except for we did not.
We didn't. Yeah, and then we had the first episode.
Yeah, which was the one that you just heard 2 weeks ago. Hopefully, and that was one of the more popular episodes. People really enjoyed it.
Well, and I got to highlight because, and then I said this earlier, listening to that episode, there's that moment where I'm like, oh yeah, I'll bring the kids in and they can explain the name.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, Addie that's not Addie. That's Ray.
It's true. And that's how his voice has changed.
Oh my gosh. I mean, even his height in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Where he's gone from, short kid to... He's like a half inch away from being as tall as me.
Yeah,
I'm not a tall guy.
He's tall.
Yeah, he's going to be taller than me.
Yeah, well, and he's going to be fixing like safety harnesses and things like that this summer, right? So his first job is rolling around really soon.
Yeah, let's not mention where, but my son will be helping with high ropes course safety harnesses.
Yeah, I'm assuming there will be an actual adult there, probably.
Me too, and I'm assuming there's elements of training, but it had to be how my own father felt when I started my first job. Like, okay, good luck. No one actually drowned.
You're looking at them like, do you know what you're doing? Not your child, the person who hired him.
Yeah. No, I think he'll do good. I mean,
yeah, I do too.
That first job's always a growing element. That's interesting because now we're talking about podcasting and growing and first jobs and growing. Huh.
Yeah. It's funny how these things just go off the rails. But, I will say that speaking to that, I think, we don't have children. So, but speaking to like a child in their first job and things like that, it is nice to get them out there to where someone, it's not like a teacher, but somebody else is literally the authority figure. And they need to listen to them. So,
this is my cool aunt and cool uncle theory.
Okay.
And this is why, like, yesterday was Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And your wife texted, Happy Mother's Day, Mel. And I texted back, Happy Mother's Day, Nell.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, like, other that is reinforcing what parents have done. And for me, it was my Aunt Michelle. Hey, Shell. She listens.
Oh, good. Hi, Shell.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
And she is the standard for me of what a cool aunt is.
Yeah.
And subtly reinforced lessons from my mom and dad and helped me develop and figure out a few things in my life in other ways.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate that as you are influencing, who are my kids, who have a comfort of, as you said, being a bull in a china shop
Yeah.
in your house.
It was. It was just we were talking about that. I didn't never noticed it before, and then you said it's a very recent thing. But like, go out, it's got like cords and.
Honestly, you see it anytime he starts growing because he's running the old math of yes, my limb goes this far, and now suddenly goes a little bit further.
Got it.
And he just gets that bull in a china shop for about a month.
That was just like,
and it's been 9 to 12 months of him. Okay, I'm okay. Up and down, up and down, up and down.
I was just like, Ray, you just asked.
As he's destroying
like,
your
you didn't have to move furniture. You could have just asked. I bet I laughed. There was something about it that was just funny.
And this is why I say don't underestimate that value of cool aunt and cool uncle. And you have your nephews. You only have nephews.
Correct.
Yeah. You have your nephews.
And
but
then
you
a
also
godson, Jack, who,
You also have others who look at you. I mean, even my kids, in how they interact with you and Nell. You have this cool aunt and uncle thing nailed.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is.
That's scary, honestly.
Because it means you're involved in my life.
It means I'm involved in
kids.
I'm involved in your children's lives, and that's what's scary for you.
Actually, less so.
It's not scary?
No.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you know what? On that note.
Oh, boy.
I said I wanted to open with this, and I forgot.
Okay.
It has been a wild, month since you and I sat down.
Well, this is also...
Holy crap, it has been a month, hasn't it?
Well, this is why, if we're being completely transparent here, this is why we re-released that episode. Because life got in the way. There was some, medical stuff going on and just a lot of other things. And it was just like, we're not just going to come in here and record for 15 or 20 minutes and throw some trash together to put out an episode. Let's do what we did. And that's where that came from.
Yeah. And it worked. Now, this is where I have to laugh and say you dodged a bullet. So, what was the traveling you were doing at the end of April?
We were in Arizona.
Was that at the end of April?
Yeah.
Oh man.
We
that felt
arrived
like it was beginning of May.
We arrived in Arizona on April 23rd.
Okay, so Arizona is one of the places I have been. Phoenix. You were in Tucson.
We were, yes. I've been in Phoenix before, but it was just for a flight layover, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, Melinda and I were there for a couple days with a whole different discussion, but
beautiful area of the country, by the way.
Yes, it is. I'm not one for heat, but I actually like that area.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so yes, you were in Tucson, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And while you were in Tucson, Arizona, my life blew up.
Mm.
Shorthand, Melinda had kidney stones.
Yeah, I was going to say you had some of that going on, which was,
But I mean, that Wednesday that you were down there, she texted me from work and was like, I'm not feeling great. I think I need to go see a doctor after. So we went to an urgent care, and then the urgent care is like, no, you need to go to the hospital. We go to the hospital. They start running some of the initial tests, and it's everything from kidney stones to your organs are exploding.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was okay. It's going to be a late night. It's a Wednesday night. I can't be in two places at once figuring out what's going on with Mel and taking care of her and taking care of the kids, and they don't need to be here at the hospital with me until almost midnight.
Yeah.
So I called Mom and Dad.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great, wonderful, deep irony because Dad gets up to the house and he's like, okay, yeah, we can take the kids. You figure out what's going on with Mel.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know. We'll figure everything out as it goes on.
Sure.
And he's like, and by the way, I just listened to the episode. It was like an episode before we had Becky on.
Okay.
Where I said you and Nell were on the short list if the crap ever hits the fan to be able to pick up and help with the kids.
So did he say, where are Kenny and Nell?
He did. He was like, so where are Kenny and Nell? I thought you said they were on the short list. Like, yeah, they just left for Tucson yesterday. And Melinda and I were talking about that. I was like, if Kenny and Nell were here, I would have leaned on you guys, but you dodged the bullet.
So, okay. So my question then to that is, was he offended by that?
No, he was getting a kick out of it.
Okay, so that's what he was doing. Okay,
Yeah, because I mean,
because I almost feel like he was like, well, if Kenny and Nell are so great, why don't you call them? One of those deals.
No, it was like a day or two before he and Mom had been listening to the episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was a little curious where it's okay, Kenny and Nell okay?
Yeah.
Well, they're out of town.
Yeah, we're not here. But yeah, in that situation, obviously, would have been like, all right, well, what do you need?
Well, and it worked having Mom and Dad take him because it wound up being kidney stones and we needed to get surgery. Surgery, and I mean, that was a whole quick process.
Yeah.
It was a wild weekend.
It reminds me of the... You weren't a friend. We've had this conversation before. You're not a Friends guy.
I have watched all of Friends because I married a woman who is a Friends gal.
Okay.
I mean, shoot, I've come to understand you enough that I sent you a TikTok.
That's true.
With AI, what if
With
Friends happened
Friends.
in the 50s?
Yeah, yeah. It just makes me think when Rachel was in the hospital giving birth to Ross's child, Joey had kidney stones.
Oh, yes.
And he had to go in his own room, and the doctor came in and he's like, "Doc, what is it?" And he said, "Kidney stones." And then Joey's like, "Well, what else could it be? Kidney stones." And he's like, "Or kidney stones." I just, for some reason, that sticks in my head.
Hey, I'll give you what Melinda's review of kidney stones was.
Not fun.
She'd rather have another kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes me not want to have kidney stones.
And that ship sailed, so there you go.
Wow. That's saying something.
Yeah.
That is really, really saying something.
Okay, well, we asked one questions and wound up at Friends and kidney stones.
We did. We did. All right.
This is why I love podcasting with you.
This is why Nell even said this. She said, you guys are gonna record a podcast and you're never gonna cover the topic that you wanted to cover if I don't write things down.
We did.
And she's not wrong.
And then we rabbit trailed a lot.
Well, that's what happened. Okay. Anyway. So question number 2 is, how have you both evolved as podcasters and humans since then? And I don't exactly know. Again, I previewed these questions, but I still wasn't sure how I was going to answer some of them.
Is that one like you feel uncertain about how you answer?
No, I mean, so here's my first inclination of what to say. In relation to how we have evolved as podcasters, I can tell you personally how I feel as though I've evolved as a podcaster. Originally, I used this as a platform for me to learn editing and all those things. So I've personally evolved on a back end standpoint, not behind the microphone, but other than that, I've evolved to learn the other part of podcasting that everybody forgets about.
I'll give you some pushback on that.
Okay.
Because I don't think you've just learned the back end with the editing and production and all of that. I think it's also helped you. And I won't say the Drunk Squirrel has been the sole reason, but I think it's been a contributing reason. Contributing reason.
Somebody's shooting something outside?
I guess so. We're under fire?
Okay.
Sure.
Tuck and roll.
Yeah, sure. Or just have another sip. But anyway.
All right, that's the plan.
Jeez, come on. I think one of the major things that has developed out of this for you is your voice. And you've had the radio show running a little bit longer because the radio show started in November. We recorded in December and released in January.
Yeah.
So you've had these two things kind of running parallel as you have developed your voice as Kenny the DJ,
but
Kenny the podcaster. Not
what's the word I'm looking for here? Not like on purpose.
It's a side effect. And it's one that you don't consciously connect. You just think, I'll be behind the mic, it'll be something fun. But then how you interact, how you think, how you speak intentionally and unintentionally changes, especially if you're listening to yourself.
That was the biggest thing for me.
I remember because, the first 2 weeks you're like, I hate listening to myself.
Oh, I hated it. And I'm like, what am I doing?
But again, your voice is developed. I mean, even going back to what we were saying earlier, the oohs, pauses
Yeah.
are minimalized. I mean, we stumble over our words depending on how many drinks we're in.
Well, that definitely happens.
But I think that has been a big piece of it for you. And I mean, even looking back to one of the things you said when we started was, I want to do this to expand out, even in what I'm doing with radio, even to what I'm doing in enticing media. And it's happened. I mean, you're running your own radio show.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a big deal. You're kind of a big deal.
I don't know about all that, but
you say that, but I walk into that chat on Wednesday night when you're in the radio. I'm like, okay, that's an artist. That's an artist. That's an artist. That's who's this? Oh yeah, that's me.
That's me.
But I mean, you've got a radio show where you're connecting with artists.
Yeah.
And you've introduced me to a whole genre of music and trop rock.
Hopefully you're enjoying some of it.
I am, actually.
Good.
There's some of it that has been making it into our family playlist.
Very nice.
Yeah. And I've been learning about where Jimmy Buffett keeps popping up in movies and cameos.
Hey,
I don't know why. That's one area of my life that I keep finding out. Okay, Jimmy Buffett was in that movie.
Jimmy Buffett was a chameleon.
Okay, so you guys are Jurassic World fans, Jurassic Park fans.
Yeah, I mean, Nell specifically. I mean, she's crazy about that series.
The first Jurassic World movie, you remember that?
Yeah.
Remember the guy who grabbed the 2 margaritas off of the table? And
oh, yeah.
That was Jimmy Buffett.
That was Jimmy, yeah.
Yeah. So, there you go, random.
That's actually a cool thing. And I had seen that movie many, many times. And I wasn't a Jimmy Buffett fan my whole life, so I didn't know. But I do now. And I was like, oh, that's kind of something. And speaking of this conversation, I have thought of a question that I'm going to ask you, but it's specific for you.
Oh,
so
geez.
It's not something that it's not something that that I can answer. So I think we discussed this a little bit, but I think we're not through. I have the question I want to ask you.
Yeah. I
have another question that was on Nell's list. And, we just kind of keep going off the rails a little bit. So I think that we're going to turn this one into a 2-parter. What do you think?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and, let's ask the question you have.
Okay.
And then I guess we'll finish with the last 2 questions in the second part.
Okay, that's fine.
All
so my question is, how does this podcasting experience compare to the 42 podcast that you did? Not throwing people under the bus or anything like that, but just how did that help you in this process, or is this just completely wildly different and it's not comparable?
They are completely wildly different and at the same time running parallel.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to explain it a little bit, so.
Yeah, so the 42 podcast was run with me and a friend of mine, Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
And when did that? We started that in like September of 2020. Was when we started the conversations,
Okay. Yeah.
and we recorded about 10 episodes.
Right off the bat.
Well, they never made it before we finally got that first episode.
Oh.
We were like, yeah, this is how we want it.
Yeah.
And some of that was just figuring out the personalities and the mesh. And
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay was, she's my age.
Yeah.
So I knew her 20 years ago, and she's been a good friend, but she was a Christian, and then she's arrived at a different point in life, and it was one of those things where it's, okay, well, we can lean on, we have been friends,
Mm-hmm.
and have conversations from opposing viewpoints, and at the end of it still say, yes, we're friends.
Yeah.
And that was where it started. It went off the rails like all things.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's any conversation with me. We wind up in weird places.
Well, I remember listening to your podcast, and I didn't know, and most of the time I didn't know anything about what you were talking about because there was a lot of Star Wars talk.
Yeah.
And I'm not a Star Wars guy. So
one of these days we actually need to do, I was thinking about this, all right?
Yeah.
Because potentially we have an episode coming up
Mm-hmm.
with someone who was a part of WWE.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And my position with WWE is I hate it.
Okay.
I did real wrestling in high school, Greco-Roman.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, oh, yeah, you wrestle, so you know the pile driver and the whatever.
That's not the same thing.
No, gosh, no.
No.
And there were no ropes that we were jumping off of. And
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. I have been doing some research and reading and understanding a little bit more of what WWE is and appreciating it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the episodes that we have coming up is you and I sit down and you have me watch some WWE thing.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in that same breath, I have you watch something Star Wars.
You have me watch Star Wars.
And we still need to sit down, you, me, Nell, and Mel,
Yeah.
and watch Jeff Dunham.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about that before.
We need to.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Man.
I know of him, but I've never seen any of his work.
I still wind up on the floor, curled in a ball in tears. But
I've heard wonderful things about him.
Yeah, but the 42, we would dip into Star Wars because it was a safe zone. I mean, I use things like Star Wars and Steelers and Stranger Things or some of the modern TV that's on to connect with my students because it provides a mutual point. Okay, we don't need to. I don't need to walk into the situation and be like, all right, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
Yeah.
I can, I know Stranger Things. I don't know if you've watched it.
I have not, actually.
You might enjoy it. It's kind of a love letter to the 80s.
Okay.
With plenty of scary, creepy sci-fi. So.
Okay.
You might.
I'd give it a shot.
Nell might enjoy it more than you.
Once Suits is over, then, it's...
Oh, Suits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
I got to ask.
We are 2 episodes away from the end of season 7.
Okay.
So we're closing in. There's only one more season after this. So
yeah, that last season's tough.
Yeah.
But Star Wars was a mutual connection point for us. So when we would stress the friendship or the conversation, it became we can pull back, we can talk Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that's really what the 42 was just kind of this ebb and flow of the relationship with Lindsay and I as we talk through different stressors of life, different positions in faith, belief. We went into some weird deep topics. We went into just all manner of things.
Yeah.
And out of that, I started developing the idea that, I still want to have something that is we can talk to anyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where they are in life.
Which is kind of what we're doing here.
It is.
So.
But part of the perfection of it is we added a drink.
Yes. That certainly helps. It wouldn't be as much fun without a drink.
Yeah, and it's like in the youth ministry, we have a meal at the end of youth group. And that's actually one of the greatest moments and connections in ministry I have.
Yeah.
Because it's this neutralizing element. We all need to eat. Okay.
Yeah.
And no one is pretty when they eat.
True.
So we're all in this vulnerable state. We can talk, we can interact, we can ask questions that, we might not have been comfortable with in youth group or in the big setting. So that's kind of where the Drunk Squirrel started being developed into. And it's running in that parallel of still, I want to be able to have a conversation with anyone, but it's going away. Like you and I have a pre-established, hello, motorcycle. Oh, it's a pretty one.
Like we said, we're not perfect. The motorcycle just drove by. I don't know if you heard that or not.
I miss motorcycles. I used to ride. I miss it.
I didn't know you rode a motorcycle.
Yeah. Wrecked one.
Oh. Ugh. That's no good.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay.
I only, slid across the pavement for about 40 feet.
Again, that doesn't sound fun.
Oh, they were fun.
I'm sure as long as they're upright, they're fun.
Well, no. You actually want them at, angles and
speeds. You don't want them sliding across the ground, though.
But you want them scraping pegs. Okay, look, the best equivalent I can give is when you are on a motorcycle in the curves, giving it the gas, it's like sex on the road.
Wow.
You're just, oh, yeah.
Never had sex on the road either.
Neither have I, but I mean, that's what I equate riding the motorcycle to.
I'm willing to give it a shot.
Well, go get a motorcycle. Sorry, Nell.
That's what she would tell me. Go get a motorcycle.
I keep hitting the mic.
You busting the mic up.
I'm sorry, Mr. Microphone.
Now he's petting the microphone.
But no, they run in parallel, but they've gone in different directions.
Yeah.
Because you and I have a degree of the mutual faith and background, and you grew up in Lebanon, I grew up in Beaver County, Aliquippa, and there's a steel mill kind of soul to the earth aspect that you and I share.
Yeah.
And I think that helps with us being able to talk and have conversations that don't always need to be to the nth level of depth.
Oh, yeah.
But can be surface or go deeper or wind up in friends or just wherever we go.
I'm not a very deep individual.
I'm sorry, Nell.
There's a joke in there somewhere. Oh, my.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, remind me to tell you when we have the microphones off.
Okay. Well, that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we are going to make this a two-parter. We're going to continue this conversation because I think we still have a lot to talk about. We got 2 more questions to go through. Yeah. So we're going to do that.
And
so go ahead.
What was the 3-letter thingy that you learned on the radio show?
Oh, hold on. My friend Jackson Turner said RMD, refreshing my drink.
So this is a refreshing my drink break.
So we're going to refresh our drinks, and hope you enjoyed this little reflection of us. And we're going to continue it again on the episode in 2 weeks.
And don't worry, we'll have a warm serving of Kenny's Nuggies in 2 weeks.
Oh, boy.
I haven't forgotten.
Oh, boy. I was kind of hoping you would do.
Forget what?
Yeah. All right. All right. Thanks for listening to the Drunk Squirrel podcast, and we'll continue this conversation in 2 weeks.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to The Drunk Squirrel. No need to pay a tab. Just be sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and drop us a line, thedrunksquirrel82@gmail.com. Cheers.